Friday. Got it. Thank you, Karen. Um, it is about 1 minute away. We're going to give it about 1 minute. We're going to start right on time at 10 a.m. To be respectful of everybody's time. This is going to be recorded, of course. We'll post it on our website for anybody who joins late or is not able to see it. So let your friends know that we are starting in about 1 minute. All right. What do you say we do it? Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I anticipate that we'll still have some people join us as we sent the remind text out, which is totally cool and totally fine. This principal coffee talk will be recorded. So again, you can access that on our website, on our YouTube channel as well. That'll all be posted and very easy to access. So thank you guys so much for being here for the final coffee talk of the year. It is wild to think that, well, let me get to our first slide so you can see. It's wild to think that the year is nearly done, that after today, it is going to be May 1st before we know it, and we will have exactly 20 days left of this amazing school year. We're excited about how far we've come, and what is to lie in the future. So this is a PTA-sponsored event, so thank you, Karen, and thank you, Margaret, for all you all have done this year to lead our parents and our parent-teacher organization association. Right now, they're going to be the stewards of all things chat. So if there's anything that needs to be sent to them, they are going to be able to capture your questions. We're not going to have a ton of time for question and answers today, but what we are going to do is if we see a theme or we see some questions that we have to answer, we will answer them. We'll reach out to people individually, and we will also kind of get together a little FAQ that we can put out in the B-mail just to make sure that everybody sees your answers because that will probably be the best way to share information. So aside from that, let's get started. It is Friday. It is 10 a.m. and we're excited to have everybody here for my final principal coffee talk of the year. Let's see what we're going to talk about today. Well, first and foremost, we've been doing a lot of hiring. We're going to talk about our final budget and what that looks like. And we're going to talk about staffing and hiring and how that's going to look at our school next year. We're excited about all the opportunities and things to come for that. I want to talk a little bit about a design thinking cohort that I've been a part of and some things that we're going to do at Brandon next year to help sort of reset some expectations with all of our new staff and all of our new families, and we're excited about that. We're going to talk a little bit about safety at the end. We had a great safety meeting the other day, and safety is always at top of mind, so I want to make sure that our parents and families know what our plan to keep our schools safe is, and we'll talk about that at the end. And then, of course, I have some information items and some closing things to do. So this is really just kind of a sit and listen. I am always available for anybody who wants to chat further or to talk. You know how to find me through calling the school or sending me an email. And then again, if you have any questions, just send them to Margaret or Karen, and we will do our best to ask them on the call. But if not, we will do an FAQ at the end, and we will put that out to our community to make sure that everybody is aware of your questions and answers. All right. So I want to talk about the budget and the review and our staffing. We talked a little bit about this last time we were here. This is very, very important for our school, whether you are aware of this or not. But our school is managed by our GO team, and our GO team helps me to set our budget for next year. And what we really do is follow this budget process. We are really past the final step 7, and I do think it's important for those of you that are on GO team to be recognized for your hard work. So thank you for that. If you are a GO team member, I really appreciate your help. We had our final meeting yesterday, but we did approve our budget back in March. And I don't know if we've talked too much since then, so I want to make sure that we're aware of everything that we approved and what we're going to be working with for next year. The first thing we did with our GO team was align our school priorities with our budget. That's the number one thing for spending money, is to make sure that it's going to where we want it to go. We want it to go directly back to our students and our community and make sure that it's serving the purposes that we have. Our priorities are on the far left. These have been mapped out by our GO team. It is listed in our strategic plan. This is not new information for our community, but it is posted online, and I encourage you to take a look at it when you can. But our priorities are on the left, and they're actually ranked. And our Go team ranked these priorities. So the first one you see on there is going to be our #1 priority, and that's making sure our subgroups are making academic progress across all content areas. And you can see our rationale on the right. And that is really just based off of last year's Georgia milestones. And we are excited to start testing again next week, where we can finally see 2 years in a row of really strong data since that pandemic. I'm not going to review all of our budget parameters, but you can sort of see where we're headed. And we also have another slide here where you can see our priorities all the way down to our 11th one at the very bottom. The 11th one is not the least important. It is just the one that is number 11 out of 11. But it is definitely a priority and one that we want to look at funding. So I just want you guys to see our priorities as well as our rationales. And let's take a look at where that money goes. So when we started, we had our budget all set, and I want to talk about an exciting thing that we have coming our way as well. That beginning next year, and I learned this really right before our budget approval meeting with the district, that we're also going to be getting 2 autism units next year, and we're excited around that. And our Go team is aware of that, and our PTA is, and I want to make sure our community knows that too. That we are welcoming back 2 regional programs to Morris Brandon next year. We are going to see a brand new K2 autism unit at our primary center. It's a functional autism unit where our students are going to be in a self-contained classroom with a fantastic teacher and pair that we have already hired. And then our main campus, we're going to open up a 3 through 5 autism unit. And we call it a unit because what it's going to do is serve all students in the North Atlanta cluster that fall under that exceptionality. So we're going to have students from Bolton, Rivers, and Jackson, and Sarah Smith, maybe Brandon. And that we have a 3-5 unit as well. And we've done a great job and found an awesome teacher to lead that as well as a paraprofessional. But that did affect an allocation change, and I wanted our community to be aware that because of the influx of special education students coming to our school, I felt the need to hire another 0.5 or half-time special education lead teacher. That did come at a school price of around $55,000. So what we do now is we have Dr. Dalton, which is fantastic, who oversees our entire special ed program. He's here full time, but now we also have somebody else like Dr. Dalton coming at halftime. They'll be here 2.5 days a week to help support our autism units and our special education students and teachers next year. We felt like that was a very high need, and that was a decision that I made right before the budget window closed. So we are excited around this opportunity coming next year. But like all opportunities that come our way, it involves a lot of work and strategic planning. And I wanted to make sure that our community knew about that and was aware of that. If you have any questions around that, please shoot it my way, shoot it to our PTA presidents. We'd be happy to talk about it. But we're excited around the opportunity for a functional autism unit at Morris Brandon for next year. What that did, like we talked about, was right here, was reduce our reserve budget by about $55,000 and brought it down to $64,000. And just as a reminder, we will be getting that $64,893 15 days into the school year as long as we hit our projection of 844 students. Any students that we come in below 844, and that's not including our autism units because we don't pay for those teachers, or our pre-K students, for any students that come in below that, we have to pay money back to the district. And that SSF base formula is at $5,455 per student. So if we come in 10 under, that's close to $50,000 that we have to pay back to the district. So it's very careful. Very careful planning, very strategic planning, and very important to make sure that we do hit our budgets and our numbers. And I'm so excited to say that we have almost 90 kindergartners already enrolled for next year. So just a big shout out to all of our parents that have helped lead that work, because we have to build our school back up from the ground up. And while as much as we want kids coming in all grade levels, it really is going to start in kindergarten. And we've seen great interest in our school the last 2 years for kindergarten. This just shows you a little bit around where our budget's going. So you can see instruction, 77 teachers are going towards instruction. Pupil services is 5 teachers. That can be like our counselors and our social workers. Instructional services, instructional staff training, educational media services. That's 2 media specialists, school administration. There's 7 of us, including our special ed lead teacher and our IB coordinators. Maintenance and operation, those are our custodians and our site managers. So you can really see that the bulk of our funding is going towards instruction, and that's where we want to see it go. Out of our $8.5 million, almost $6,683,000 is going towards instruction, which is exactly what that piece of pie should look like. And you can see it right here. So I just wanted to make sure that our parents and our families and our community knew that we are aligning our budget to what our community and our students need, and that is the most important. All right, we actually I want to talk for a minute around our BAS 3 best. It's something that's important to us at the district level and the school level. For those of you that are aware, you know that we've taken this assessment now 4 times, 2 last year and 2 this year. The BAS 3 best is a social emotional screener that we use to really target student supports. It is part of our school improvement plan where we talked about reducing the percentage of highly elevated students by 3%. And it's really, really important that our community knows that we don't just give these assessments out to our students just because we have to. They're very strategic, and there's strategic planning around that. And one of the goals for the BAS Best is to target students and to find students that we may not necessarily know about. Those quiet students that are in class, those ones that behave well, those ones that do well, but inside they're feeling a certain way. And we want to make sure that we're able to address that. I have always said that elementary school sometimes is like the last frontier for really targeted student support. Our middle schools and high schools do a great job, but in elementary, we have to be really, really strategic in finding our students and making sure that they understand a social emotional well-being, a love of school and a love of learning, because if you don't have that by the time you leave 5th grade, it can be a long time in school. So I really want to give a shout out to our counselor and our social worker that led this work. You all had your reports sent home. And just as a quick reminder, our K2 students had their best filled out by the teacher and the parent. So we doubled that to get a score. And then our 3-5 students took the survey themselves in 3rd through 5th. The parents also were asked to take the survey, and the teachers took the survey on those students. So we triaged that data to find out our elevated and highly elevated students. Well, let's take a look at our end of year data. So this is really great data to look at. I want to start on the far right side. These are our 3rd through 5th grade students. I want you to see that when we took the assessment in the fall, that 19 students were extremely elevated, or 6% of our best students that took it in 3 through 5. We also noticed that 12% were elevated, and then 82 were at a normal risk. Okay. After interventions, after supports, and after meetings with students and parents and using our counselor for targeted interventions, we can look at our spring data that we actually reduced our extremely elevated students by about 2%. The goal was 3%, but we always shoot high. And when it actually was 5 students. And when you look at the big picture, 5 students does not seem like a lot, but when you look at elevated students for social emotional well-being, if we were able to change 5 students well-being or move them into an elevated risk and not so much extremely elevated, we've done our work, and I'm proud of that. And I want to give a shout out to Ms. Gillum and Ms. Durant, as well as our teachers, for really targeting that. You take a look at our elevated students, we moved from 40 to 34. That means that we moved 6 students really out of the elevated risk and into normal risk. So not only did we slide students out of extremely elevated, we've moved some out of elevated and down into normal risk. That's just great data to have, and it's great to see. We know who these targeted students are. Parents really should have been contacted if they had an extremely elevated student. If you have any questions or concerns around that, please reach out. And the reason we really tried to do that was because this exact same time last year, somebody let me know that I had an extremely elevated student and I didn't get contacted. And we wanted to make sure that, that we were doing our best for that. Now, if you look at the left side, that's the teacher feedback, and that's for K through 5. So this is the teacher ratings on the students. And you can see they actually from originally had way less extremely elevated students, which I think is interesting because this shows that what the teachers always see is not quite what the students always see. And I think that's important because the teachers cannot just tell if a student is having some social, emotional, or well-being concerns, because a lot of that is happening internally. So the teachers felt like only 2% of our K through 5 students were extremely elevated, or 14 students. But the students actually felt like it was 6% at the upper grades, or 14 total, but really 19 total. We had 3% of our elevated risk, and our normal risk was below. And if you slide down, we had a slight increase in our elevated risk from our teachers. But again, for me, I do think the most important and critical data piece is going to be our student feedback in their surveys. And I was excited with this data. So I just wanted to share that with you. We take the BAS Best very, very seriously at our school. And just like MAP data, we want to make sure that our parents understand some of the growth that our students have made from a social emotional well-being standpoint too. Any questions, reach out to me, reach out to our counselors, and we can move on. Karen and Margaret, do we have anything so far that anybody wants me to ask? All right, let's keep rolling. So we have been busy. Last time we met, we talked a lot around our budget and staffing needs, but I hadn't done a ton of hiring yet. This is a really, really, really busy time for Atlanta Public Schools. There's a need for teachers. We know that. And there's a need for teachers to graduate college and go into leadership programs and teacher programs. We're never immune to teacher shortage at Morris Brandon, but what we are is very lucky to have such an incredible school that if we have a vacancy that we are really typically able to find great candidates to fill that. So you're going to see a lot of vacancies on this next piece of paper or this next document, and I want to talk you through it. Our homeroom vacancies are primarily because we created positions. We were earning money. We were earning students, so we did create homeroom positions. But outside of that, we actually moved some teachers to those vacant positions, which created another vacancy. We had to hire for that. We also have some teachers retiring. Yeah, we have at least two homeroom teachers retiring, one specialist retiring, one SST or student support person retiring. We have to hire for those. We also had 2 autism positions. We had to hire for those, right? We have to hire for their paras too. And then special education. We've had some vacancies this year and we had to hire for those. So I want to talk through some of those staffing, some of the people, and I'm going to put some names to faces because I want our community and our parents and our teacher to know who's coming to Brandon and to welcome them with open arms because we have the best of the best coming and I'm excited for that. So this just has to do with our innovative model. I'm not going to talk too much around this, but our staffing plan, if you remember correctly, was to reduce the amount of pull-out teachers and support teachers that our kids go to and move those teachers back into homerooms so we can create more homeroom teachers and lower our class sizes. And we can serve our students through the SST process or student support team process, not in a pull-out model, not where they go to another teacher, but that homeroom teacher can do it. But in order to do that, they have to have a smaller class size. So that's the goal. So the goal is to move from that 25, 26, even 28 that we have in some of our 4th grade classes down to 22, 20, 18. So that's our goal. So that's kind of what that slide says. But let's take a look at our staffing. Hopefully you guys can see this slide pretty well. I'm going to start on the left side. Our current numbers right now are right around 830 to 840. It fluctuates on any given day. But we are projected to have 844 students. If we get 844 students, we get all of our reserve money. We are in good standing. We can hire, we can move forward. If we come under below that, remember that we do lose that $5,544 per student. That's APS's SSF or student success formula. It's an equity-based formula where the money follows the student. So other schools that are over projection would get our money. And if we're over projection, we get other schools' money that was under projection. So if you take a look here, everything that is in the green is going to either be a new hire or a new position. And you can see that we have a new kindergarten position. We created 2 1st grade positions, but we're actually going to have 3 new teachers on 1st. We're moving a 1st grade teacher to 2nd and adding another teacher there. We have somebody retiring and we're filling that too. And you can notice that 2nd grade currently has 147. They're projected to have 136, but we're still keeping their 7 teachers. You can see the class sizes to the right as well. For 3rd grade, we're adding another teacher down here. For 4th grade, we're adding a teacher, but we also have a lot of other vacancies because we're moving a 4th grade teacher down a grade level. We have 1 4th grade teacher leaving Brandon. We're adding a teacher, so we have to hire. And we're going to have some new faces on 4th, but we're excited around that. Same thing with 5th grade. We're adding a 5th grade teacher, but we also have a 5th grade teacher retiring, and we have 1 5th grade teacher that's actually sliding down to this kindergarten role. So we're going to be hiring these teachers over here. That's going to involve some new faces at Brandon, but rest assured, we hire the best and we are excited around who we have coming. And I will tell you one of the reasons why is because right now we are in what's called the internal transfer window. And APS allows teachers to transfer from other schools. Actually, today is the last day. That's why we've been so busy. But we have actually pulled some really, really incredible teachers and support staffs from other APS schools to come to Morris Brandon. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to move quickly. Now, I do want you to look at the far side. We have 5 special ed teachers currently. We're going to have 5 special ed teachers next year that are all new. That's because we have special ed teachers that we've had vacated positions for part of this year. We've had some long-term subs in there, and we also have some leaving. But we're excited to say that they've all been hired and they've all been recommended for hire, and we're really excited around those teachers that are coming, many with years and years of experience. And we have actually 1 recent graduate coming from college. And that was so exciting to me because I will tell you, you don't see a lot of candidates coming out of college with special education degrees anymore. And I was very, very happy to find the person that we did. And she was incredible. And she's going to be coming to Brandon next year. So we're excited around that. But aside from that, take a look at some of the other positions that we've hired for this year. First of all, you know that the first two classes, or hopefully you know, the first two classes on every grade level are our DLI classes. And you're going to see how they're much higher. And that's because we need to fill out our DLI classes based on board policy and based on our priority entries. So you do see high DLI numbers in first, second, K1, 2. Tapers off a little bit as you get older. In our GO-TEAM meeting, our DLI representative said, hey, you're doing all the supports for our gen ed classes. We're lowering all those class sizes. What can we do to help support DLI? And they really talked to me around providing some targeted Spanish language support from a certified teacher. And that's exactly what we did. So we're excited to have a full-time Spanish foreign language teacher next year as well, along with our 2 French teachers. And that Spanish foreign language teacher is a full-time certified teacher, 1 full FTE, not a paraprofessional, who's going to help lead our language lab and in literacy work in Spanish for next year across K-5. And she's going to be pushing into classes and pulling students and working on tutorials, but also organizing performances and after school plays and after school activities for our DLI students. So we're excited around having that extra support and really that extra full-time staff member to support our dual language immersion. We talked about hiring the other 0.5 CELT, that's our special education lead teacher. We have our 2 autism teachers. We hired a 3 through 5 PE teacher. I know we're going to miss Coach Wyman so much after her 38 years of service at Morris Brandon and Atlanta Public Schools. But we are excited about what's to come. And we have hired a fantastic PE teacher from actually Howard Middle School in Atlanta Public Schools, a 10-year veteran, somebody I know well. And if I can coach anybody, I can tell you it's going to be PE because that's my background. So I felt really good around that. We hired another 3-5 art teacher from an APS school. We're really excited around that. We hired a new 3-5 music teacher who's phenomenal, who has been teaching music for 10 years and is a fluent Spanish speaking music teacher. So now our 3 through 5 students are going to be taking Spanish music. She's going to be teaching our DLI music in Spanish, which we're very excited about as well. All right, making sure everybody's still good and you can hear me and I'm not frozen. Karen, good, okay. Last but not least, we have one more vacancy for music in the K2 space for next year, and we are actively hiring for that. But for the most part, we are fully built out. Do I have any questions so far, Karen or Margaret, around any new hires? Because I want to put some names to these faces. So let's see who we have coming our way. These are the names. Yes, we're going to look at names of new people, which I'm excited about. I know that is not the most ideal slide for you to probably see with the black on the blue, but I just want you to kind of see who we have coming because we've already talked to these people. They are excited. They are itching to get into our buildings. They've already done walkthroughs, but these are some of our new teachers you're going to see. And parents, I'm telling you all of this because we are in the middle of our parent input forms. We are in the middle of telling us kind of what you want out of a teacher and experience in a teacher. And it's very important to understand that we are going to find the best placement for your child next year, but there may be some names on your schedule that you're just not aware of yet. And as always, we ask you to be patient and understanding to know that we are continuing to grow and build out incredible teachers at our school. But just like athletes, teachers need to be coached too, and we're excited about what we have to come. So these are some of the people that we have coming to our building next year. Take note of those names, and we are excited to have them. And those names are going to continue to get built out as we find our last 5th grade teacher. We have somebody coming in today to do a lesson, as we hire some special education paras, and as we finalize our K2 music position. As much as I want to say hiring is done for the year, I will say that there's always surprises. And the biggest thing for me is to parents know that we can hire internally up until April 28th, which is like today, and we could only hire within the metro Atlanta area up until June 1st. So if anybody leaves before June 4th or after June 1st, we cannot pull anybody from any surrounding districts that are under contract. And it makes it very, very difficult to find high quality staff if we have vacancies that are in June and July. And that means that we could only pull people from out of state. And I really don't like to hire too much in June or July because I want to make sure we find the best people. But you never know what you're going to get. But we have plans for everything. So I wanted to show you that. And I think we're good. Let's keep moving on. Let's talk about some exciting things that are coming our way at Morris Brands. And I just want to talk a little bit around this because I think it's important for y'all to know what we do outside of caring for our kids every day. APS offers all sorts of professional learning for us. And one of the things that I wanted to jump on this year with, of course, our fantastic Maggie Blees and our administrative team was to join the IIR department, which is the Innovation, Improvement, and Redesign department in APS. I wanted to join their design thinking cohort. Design thinking is a new way of solving problems, right? It's a new way of overcoming obstacles, and it's a new way of thinking about how we can serve our students best. For those of you that are in the business world, you know design thinking, you know challenge thinking, you know what it means. And this is really the process. I'm gonna show you in a second. We wanted to find a problem of practice. We wanted to find something that we could do at our school to really help improve the climate and culture of our teachers and students. We know that we are growing. We know with all of these new staff that we have coming that we're going to have to do some work, but we didn't quite know what it was. What's the work going to be? Improving student outcomes? Well, we know that. Is it going to be welcoming our teachers and ensuring that they stay, possibly? Or is it something else? So we always started, we started with our notice and we moved into empathize, and we had empathy interviews, and we met with teachers, we met with students, and we met to find out how their schooling experience is going. Long story short, we defined our problem of practice. We ideated on what that is. We created a prototype. We're testing it right now, and we're looking forward to reflect and share that with everybody. But I want to tell you a little bit around what it is. This is a little bit of that roadmap and process of my design thinking cohort. I won't spend too much time on this one. But what we ended up doing down here was determining a problem of practice that is, how might we create a foundation of shared responsibilities for parents, students, staff, and community across pre-K through 5th grade at Morris Brandon Elementary School. Now you might say, that's an interesting problem of practice. I can tell you right now from our viewpoint and our empathy interviews that we have some inconsistent practices that we are seeing from kindergarten through 5th grade. Not necessarily instruction, but responsibilities, expectations, behavior, parent concerns, teacher turnover. So with all of our new staff coming in, we want to reset our expectations and responsibilities for everyone. And we're going to start that next year, but I'm going to give you a preview. So what we did was we brought our teachers together and we asked them, what are some responsibilities that our students and staff and parents need to be able to do? What does respect look like, right? The little sticky notes right here that you're going to see, participation, compliance, listening, those are what our students told us. So we took all of this information, we ideated, and we created this prototype. And it's Morris Brandon responsibilities. And it seems very simple. It does, right? But every one of these are going to have very clear-cut guidelines for parents, teachers, staff, and anywhere in the building where our students go. Be a team player. Be an active listener. Be respectful. Be safe, and be ready to learn. These are 5 things. They started out with 6, but our team said narrow it down to 5. These are 5 things that we feel like every single person that is attached to Morris Brandon must be able to do. But what does it look like for students? We're going to outline that in our essential agreements next year. What does it look like for our parents? Well, maybe being a team player is working with your teacher. Maybe being an active listener is that we listen to our teacher's feedback and we work with our teacher before we go to an administrator. Being respectful, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. We know what it should look like for students, teachers, and staff. What does being safe mean for students? What does it mean for staff? We have very clear expectations for that. What does being safe look like in the gym and at carpool or in the cafeteria? And being ready to learn. Well, maybe for a parent, it is having our child at school on time with all of their materials. For a teacher, maybe it's being at school on time, being in your classroom 5 minutes before the students get here. And for a student, maybe it's I'm bringing my supplies and I come in with the mindset that I'm ready to work, okay? So we are ideating and working on these now, and we are excited to share the final outcome for you. I want you guys to know about this because a lot of the work that we do at Brandon is not just inside of this building, but it is after hours and it is engaging our community to do stuff like this. Any questions around design thinking? I found this interesting and I wanted to share it with our Go team, but this is important work for us. Learning the process to me is important because we deal with problems of practice all day, every day, but learning how to empathize, ideate, prototype, and reflect is showing me now that there's different ways to solve these problems, especially using the equity framework and ensuring that everybody's voices are heard. Did you guys know I went to Cupertino? I'm going to talk about that just for 1 second. Cupertino is where Apple is. Yes, very, very cool. So I've started to do a lot of work with the IIR department. That's the Innovation, Improvement, and Redesign. And it's a department that Dr. Herring started, led by Kevin Maxwell, who was the former principal of Inman Middle School or Howard Middle School. And because of my work with IDD, we are all about innovating. We're all about creating spaces for students to be creative. But we also have constraints. Like we are bound by IB. We are bound by Atlanta Public Schools and testing and everything else. But obviously I wasn't going to turn down this trip. And it was right after spring break. And I'm going to tell you right now, these pictures are probably illegal. I was not allowed to take photos there, but I snapped a couple and I wanted to share them with you. Don't put them on social media. I promise you, I was not allowed to tweet or share any of this on Facebook. But we spent literally 24 hours in San Jose. And I was able to fly out to Cupertino and spend one night and go to Apple, well, 2 nights, and go to Apple and spend about 9 hours at their headquarters, which to me was super, super powerful. If you've never seen Apple or you've never looked at it, there's their building right there. It is 1.2 miles circle. It's a 1.2 mile circle. All the property around it is super, super secure. You have to have all sorts of visitor passes and everything. You can't take photos. You can't do this. You can't do that. I had to take a couple, but I want you to see where we are. The first picture on the left is actually inside of that big ring. We were able to take a tour, which was very, very cool to see. You can see the ring on the outside and some of the principles that I was able to go with. On the second picture, you can see what it looks like on the inside, that huge, huge circle in that ring. The right side just looks like a straight up Apple store, and that's kind of what everything looks like at Apple. And the far right is the boardroom that we spent the majority of the day in. You might ask what we did there. We had all sorts of Apple CEOs and Apple presidents come and talk to us, most notably Apple educators. We talked to the worldwide leader in Apple education who talked to us around what it meant to be an Apple distinguished school and actually Apple distinguished grade bands. We talked to the person who's in charge of Apple Academies that has 36 Apple schools around the country. And and most of them are in third world countries, that teaches people how to code and how to build apps and how to post them and do basically TED Talks and sell those apps. And then we also talked about innovative learning spaces, how important it is to create spaces for students to where they can collaborate and learn and challenge each other and fail and be okay to fail and then come back and figure out the right way of doing stuff. And I came away with a ton of ideas and my brain is exploding, as you can probably see. On the bottom of this page, you can see some great things that we have coming our way. I'm really, really looking at building an innovation hub at our main campus. I want to create a classroom where our students can come in and work creatively, use our Apple products. We do have 12 Apple carts that were given to us by APS. We want to get them to our upper grade students to hopefully be an Apple distinguished grade band next year. You have to have 2 grade bands that have Apple products 1-to-1, and we have that. And we're going to try and look at that for 4th and 5th grade next year. We're going to look at getting some Apple distinguished educators in our building. We already have a couple, like our media specialists. And we're excited about redoing our media center. And for those that don't know, I've been working very closely with our foundation, and they were already kind of starting this work. How can we create a media center that is inviting to all of our students for collaboration, learning, and redesign? And we're going to be purchasing about $10,000 in furniture. We're going to be getting new carpet in there. We're going to be getting new painting, like just paint the walls, cleaning it. And I'm excited that APS is also funding a grant for us to get a new audio system. One of the things I learned about at Apple was how much sound can influence learning. If you can't hear correctly, or there's muffles, or there's other things wrong with the sound, it can really affect student learning. So we are excited to pilot like our all new audio system in our main campus media center. I'm telling you, if Lindsay, media specialist, is listening to this, because I just found out about this yesterday, that's going to be going in there where students are going to be able to go to different parts of the room and potentially hear different things. And we're really excited about that work. So long story short, I've taken away a ton of ideas and I'm excited about where we have to come with our school with that innovation and that redesign. All right. Somebody told me be careful with this not recorded, not uploaded to the YouTube channel, because I don't want Apple to come after me, because they will. I know that. All right, I want to talk about safety for a minute. We're going to change gears here, and I do want to talk about safety, and safety is always at the top of our mind. I want to start this out by saying a couple things. First of all, we all hear about really terrible things that happen in the news all the time, and I know that it is really tough for our parents and our community to hear that. Know that we hear it and we see it too. And while it's not always something that we publicize or discuss, I want parents in our communities to know that our students are safe at Morris Brandon and safe in Atlanta Public Schools. We're never naive enough to know that we cannot do more and more things to be more safe. But I want you to know that I have two kids at Morris Brandon, and I feel absolutely comfortable bringing them to school every single day. When I began to get emails and concerns and some questions from parents a couple of weeks ago, I decided to have a little bit of a safety meeting. But the safety meeting was closed, and it was first a select group of people, primarily our GO team and our foundation and our PTA presidents, along with some parents that represented some individual groups. Anyone that emailed me or reached out to me, I always have a response for. Many of them were invited, or many of them had one-on-one meetings with me. So our meeting, we sat down and we discussed a few things. And we discussed really what we're doing as a school right now to ensure that our kids are safe. And I do think that our parents need to know that, but I also think it's something that we don't always publicize all the time for a variety of reasons. But I do want to take a second to make sure that our families and our communities know that we do a lot at our school to ensure that our kids are safe. I'm going to outline them right now. First and foremost, there's an agenda that is posted here. It's going to be posted online. It's going to be hyperlinked, and you're welcome to click on that to see the agenda. And I'll also have some meeting notes posted too. The agenda is pretty much outlined on here too, so you can kind of see. But the first thing we talked about was layered security. Many studies show that, very similar to the pandemic, that layered safety is the best way to go. Just like with the pandemic, washing our hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, all that stuff was going to keep us safe. For safety, it's the same thing. What can you do on top of what can you do to make sure that our kids are always going to be safe at Morris Brandon? We have our doors are all numbered and they're alarmed. We do have AM and PM officers in one building and AM officers in another building, and we typically do have PM officers in both. Our community in North Atlanta cluster does have roving police officers that travel around the elementary schools daily. We do monthly drill practice, and it's important for people to know that we do level 1, level 2, level 3 lockdowns in case of emergency. And so you know that level 1 lockdown is typically outside of the doors are closed. There was a threat in the neighborhood. A bank was robbed. There was a robbery down the street. We close the doors. Teaching and learning continues. We move freely, but nobody can come in and out of our buildings. Level 2 is that we might have a threat inside the building, but not something that is dangerous, more so somebody who probably needs to be escorted out of the building. So we can just get on. We say everybody needs to stay in their classrooms. Teaching and learning can continue. And then we always practice that level 3 lockdown where we need to be in our buildings and away from the doors in case there's a threat inside of the building. We also have relocation sites, and we don't disclose where those are. So in case of an emergency or an extreme evacuation, we have buses that come to Brandon and take us to a relocation site where our teachers and our students come together. We take roll, and then those buses take us to a primary relocation site where parents meet us. They don't come to our relocation, they come to our primary. And if we ever need parents to go to a primary relocation site, we make sure to let them know via remind, text, everything else. We've never had to do that, but I want you to know that we have systems and processes in place for that. We do reverse evacuations, so how to get inside quickly from being outside. And we also, it's important to note that we do have the See Something, Say Something anonymous reporting system. Many years ago, not many years ago, but about 2 or 3 years ago, we had the Sandy Hook Foundation come to speak to Atlanta Public Schools and talk about the best way to keep students and staff and communities safe is to do anonymous reporting. That is really the best way to make sure that schools are safe, that there's always signs and there's always signals of students that may be in distress. So APS does have a See Something, Say Something anonymous reporting system, and it's an app that students and parents can go on and report something that goes directly to a 24-hour 7-day-a-week reporting headquarters somewhere up north, and they shoot it right back down to our APS and APD police department, and oftentimes out to our principals that need to know it. It's not used very highly for elementary schools. Our students probably aren't going to use it very much, but it is available to them and to our parents if need be, and I'm happy to give more information. But our middle school and high school students use it a lot. Every now and again, I'm tagged to something, nothing that has ever been super pertinent to Morris Brandon, but it's good to know if there's ever a threat or if there's ever a concern in our community, that there's a way to be able to report that. We also talked a lot about layered security and what we can propose. I want to talk about a few things that are coming our way. We're really excited to be getting security vestibules in both of our buildings. This is through a security grant and through eSPLOST funding. SPLOST is that special allocation sales tax that comes from the state that was approved. That's going to go directly to the schools. And any schools that don't have security vestibules are going to be able to be building those. Now, so when we talk about that, so our security vestibules, that means that when you enter our building, you're not going to be able to come directly into the school. You're going to have to come check in with the office to when they're going to buzz you back again into our school or into our building. So that is something that is coming our way and is super important. And we're excited around that. And that's just another layered security. For those that may or may not know, Governor Kemp did award $50,000 security grant to every school in the state of Georgia. That money is going to be managed by Atlanta Public Schools and Chief Applin's department, because APS does have a police department in its school and in our system. So we don't really work with APD, we work with APSPD. And what Chief Applin had indicated was that we're going to be getting to get some panic buttons in schools, or things that teachers can wear around their neck to either buzz the office or buzz our police or buzz us about any concerns. And that's going to really be a really good strategy for that immediate support if it's ever needed. So that is also coming our way. And I'm really happy to announce that we've been working very closely with a couple parents in our foundation around some security updates that we have coming our way. Most notably, some window shields for our classrooms so we can cover them up as needed. So some low-hanging fruit, some glass protectors for the front of our building to make it a little bit more secure. And of course, we always talk about what it means to get a school resource officer and an SRO. That's what an SRO means. It comes down to funding. It comes down to our local school budget. We did talk a lot around that SSF formula and our school priorities. But ultimately, staffing comes down to the principal. And I will tell you that we have some plans, we have some ideas for the future, but an officer and an armed guard is the same cost as a teacher at right around $93,000 per year. And that's because we pay benefits as well. But we would be excited around that opportunity if the budget would prove itself lendable to that. We have some ideas, but that is something that is also on the table, but that would need to come through our school funding formula. So outside of that, I did want to talk a little bit around our school security. I want to talk about our what we're doing, what's coming our way, what we're doing to keep our kids and our parents and our staff safe. And I feel confident around that. Karen and Margaret, do we have any questions that I can help answer right now?
You answered one of the questions, and the other question was about if there's been given any thought to not having the campuses be polling places while the students are present.
That's a great question. And if I could say absolutely no to polling, then I would, because I don't like that. Not because of the safety piece though, it just causes a cluster in our schools. Anytime we have polling, we should have an armed guard here. We have APSPD, and anytime we have polling, I really try to ensure that we either have a sheriff from Fulton County's office here or an APSPD. But that is not a concern of mine for safety. That's more community support, and that really is outside of my hands. But if I could pull polling from our school, it would probably be just because I don't like to have a bunch of people in our building when we're trying to teach and learn. But if you notice this year, for any of those big special elections and those big elections, we typically didn't have school those days. But that's good feedback and something that I can raise. What else do we have?
Is there a way to access the See Something, Say Something app?
Yes, you can actually download the app. It's called the SSARS app. And what I'm going to do, and Karen and Margaret, if you don't mind making a note, let's get some directions on how parents can access that, and we can post it on our website.
Sure.
Yep. Anything else? I have a question here. I had a parent, I didn't know they could chat directly with me, but I did see it. Why doesn't Morris Brandon have a fence around the school? I don't know. It's not something that schools typically have. Public schools typically have fences, but it's something that we looked at is actually fencing in a primary center primarily, just the whole front of our building. So there's a gate on either side that we can lock during the day. And that is absolutely something that we're exploring. But for the most part, we have a fence around our playgrounds, and our Morris Brandon main campus has a fence around the field. But, you know, a fence is a deterrent, and it's something that we could definitely look at and challenge facilities with. So I would be open to that, but that's not something that we have right now. Any other questions, Karen and Margaret?
That's all I have for now.
All right, parents, if you have any questions or concerns, just shoot it to them. We're going to get an FAQ together. Reach out to me directly. And again, thank you again for engaging in this, and we'll continue this conversation. We have another little safety meeting with our internal crew May 15th. So we're going to bring some other stuff up to that meeting, and we'll update our community after that with any other decisions that we make for some of those layered supports. All right. We're almost done. So let's talk a little bit around what we have coming up, because before we know it, our school year is going to be over, and it's been a great year. Every year is a challenge, but I will tell you that every year is better than the last. And I'm so excited to be here for another year. I can't believe I'll be starting my 6th year as principal at Morris Brandon Elementary School, and I'll be able to see next year my very first group of kindergartners graduating. But we have to celebrate our 5th graders this year. So I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, did you know that next week is Teacher Appreciation Week? It is. Of course, we appreciate our teachers right in the middle of Georgia Milestones, one of the most unappreciative things to do. But I do want to give a shout out to our Teacher Appreciation Committee and our parents and you all for supporting that. But if you have anything nice to do for your teachers next week, just do it. Welcome them, thank them for the hard work they do every single day, because it is sometimes a thankless job. It is the hardest job in the building. My job is nowhere near as hard as getting up and getting in front of kids every single day, and I will always say that. Working with parents is the easy part. Working with teachers is a little more challenging. Working with students is easy. But being a teacher to work with students all day for 180 days is a feat. And please thank your teachers next week. Georgia Milestone Assessment is also the next 2 weeks. For our K2 students, enjoy. You have your own building. It does not affect you at all. And you will be having International Travelers Week during that 2nd week, where our entire school is going to be transformed over to Italy. You're going to love International Travelers Week. It's some awesome, exciting things that are coming to the PC. I don't want to give them away. How cool would it be if we had some Lamborghinis roll up and our kids able to see them? I don't know. That might happen. But for the most part, the PC is going to be uninterrupted by the Georgia Milestones. But we do have our Georgia Milestones, and parents, I really want to make sure you know your child's testing schedule. We do not play during the Georgia Milestones because we need our kids here every day on time. This is not a day where we want our kids rolling in at 8 a.m. or 8:15. This is not a day where we need parents dropping off lunch at 8 a.m. We need them having a strong breakfast, a great night's sleep, and coming in. Taylor Swift, Sunday night. I had people ask me around that. Gosh, and you know, my answer to that is please go to Taylor Swift. Please enjoy Taylor Swift, enjoy the concert, and then just make sure you're here by 7:45 the next day. We do have makeup sessions built in, but I will tell you that our students test best when they are in their typical learning environment. Unless they have accommodations, those kids need to be testing in front of their teacher with the rest of their students at a time when they're typically learning. If you start to alter that for afternoon makeup sessions and pulling students and this and that, you don't always get the results that you want. So I just want to make sure that our 3rd through 5th students know their testing schedule. And please note that that next week, 4th grade does not test. They don't test until the following week on May 8th. We do have field days lined up, 5, 17, 18, 19. That's that K1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Field days are always exciting. It's Coach Wyman's last field days in Morris Brandon, and we're gonna send her and our students off with a bang. We do have our North Atlanta High School Senior Walk on May 23rd. I love this tradition that we started a few years ago, where we welcome back probably 20 to 25 graduating North Atlanta seniors who all went to Morris Brandon, and they walk the halls, and we line the halls with our students who all create signs and give them high fives and say yay and thank you. And it's just a really great thing to see for students that started in kindergarten, are now in 12th grade, are now going to some of the best colleges in our country. The 24th is going to be our final high rally, and we want to celebrate our students there. And we've had 4, there'll be our 4th Hive rally, and it's been a great time and a great way to celebrate our students. And you should now see those book tags on the back of your students' bags. And if they win awards, they're going to start collecting them on that, and we're going to celebrate them that way. And then, of course, we have our 5th grade graduation, where we send off our 5th graders the 2nd to last day of school. It has been an incredible year of student engagement, but also community engagement. For those that are newer to Brandon, we had more events this year than we have ever had at Morris Brandon. That includes things like the Backyard Bash and the Jamboree and the Fun Run. That includes the mother-son dance, the daddy-daughter dance. That includes bingo night. That includes our auction. That includes our talent show. And man, I could go on and on. But it was so exciting and so great to bring everybody back to our building to make Morris Brandon the special place that it is again. We want to welcome our community back. We want to bring back as many students as we can next year. We want to hit that 844 number if not going over. We're bringing some of the best staff you've seen to our school next year, and I hope that you see that as well. But if I don't talk to you again, let's have a great last 20 days of school. If there's anything you need, let me know, and we'll talk soon. All right? Margaret or Karen, any closing things that you guys need?
I'm good.
All right, that was a lot of talking by me. So thank you guys for bearing with me. If there's anything you need, let us know, and we'll talk soon. Bye.